Internet is shaky. Can you guys hear me? Awesome. Cool. Well, I'll get started. I know my face is frozen on screen, but I'll get started anyways. My name is Scott Schnitzer. I'm a man of discipline, honor, and presence. I'm a joy-filled leader who values relationships and serves the Most High King. I'm direct to Ashley Tarr and Danny Young. And guys, I absolutely love this business. I work this business alongside my wife. If I haven't met you yet, I hope I get to someday. This is the place to be. I'm here. I came here for the money, but I stayed for the people, Jim. That's why I'm here. There's nowhere like this. And you had an honest conversation with us yesterday, and it was such perfect timing. I had a friend give me a word over the weekend. He knows my life pretty well, and he spoke some inspiration into my life, and it went perfectly in line with what you talked about yesterday. So it's crazy how those things work. But rolling off of the if you haven't watched it, go back and watch the recording from yesterday with Jim. It was incredible. I'm gonna be a probably a little less professional in my deliverance, but hopefully this all comes together. So I want to ask you guys a question, a couple questions. First one being, do you want to be? And you can put a one in the chat if you agree with the better side of this after I ask these three questions, because I'm gonna get rolling and fire off here. Bridget, I love your enthusiasm. You put a one in the chat already. All right. Do you want to stay slightly profitable? Or, better side of this conversation, do you want to become the person that builds financial freedom through the life insurance vehicle? All right, now I got ones rolling in. Duh, that's why we're here. All right, let me ask you maybe a little bit different question. Do you want to have a good relationship with your kids and spouse, or do you want to set it on fire and make it better than you ever imagined? Me too. I'm with you. All right. Third question. Do you want to get kind of healthy, or do you want to have an elite mindset, an elite level of fitness, and be a physical picture of possibility for others? Put elite in the chat. This is my favorite word of the year. If some of you didn't know yet, I'm on elite status right now. But I had to realize this weekend through the word that was passed to me from a really good friend of mine that I may not be living up to that right now. He saw some things in me and called it out. Thank God for good friends who do that. And I'm going to pass this word on to you guys. And what he told me was a three-word sentence, and it started with quit and it ended with playing small. He said, quit playing small. And it impacted me because I'm like, man, no, I'm the guy that wakes up at 4:50 a.m. and goes to the gym. I'm the guy that eats healthy every day. Like I'm disciplined. I say no to things that don't feed my goals. I'm the guy that's what I do. But he knows me better than that. And so when he said quit playing small, it had a big impact on me. And then hearing Jim's conversation yesterday, I love how things just tie together. So that's a word for you guys today. And you can write that down. Just quit playing small. That's probably the only notes you need from today. But what I've realized through having conversations with different people who have done incredible things, one of them being you, Jim, I'm inspired by you. And what I take notes from people who are playing at an elite level. And what I've realized is that you guys are all kind of like slightly psychotic and definitely delusional. But I love that about you. And it doesn't mean like you're like that all the time, but I've seen you in seasons of getting pretty psychotic about what you're doing and being completely delusional about what you're doing. And they all have that in common. They decide what season of life they're in, or what goal they're focused on, that they're going to quit playing small. And you guys may have read 10x is easier than 2x by Benjamin Hardy. There's going to be a lot of correlation in this conversation to that book. But from what I can see, and especially I'll just highlight you, Jim, because I love you. You decided in certain seasons that you're going to quit playing small, and it led to incredible things. You've done something in that season that required everything in you and around you to change. Literally everything. Okay. And today, maybe this is a message for you. Maybe you're playing small, and I hope this stirs something inside of you. Okay. Um, let's talk about small goals. Jim, have you ever heard about putting the frog in the boiling pot of water and you just turn it up? You start it cold and then you turn it up a little at a time. What happens to that frog? It doesn't jump out. Nothing major changes. It stays in the water, and you can turn the heat up little by little by little, and all of a sudden that water is boiling and that frog dies. Here's another word for you today. Do not let that be your business. Don't turn up little by little by little until your business dies. Okay. I've looked back at my journey over the last 3 years here at Symmetry, and I've pulled two different real life examples for you that I want to speak about today. One of them was inspired by, I believe it was last Friday or Thursday's talk. We were chatting about 100 milers and ultra marathons. And my very first month here in the business, I ran a 100-mile ultra marathon. It was crazy, Jim. I don't know if I'll ever do that again, but I'm the person that's done that before. I have a belt buckle to prove it. Okay. And I had never ran more than 8 miles when I signed up for that race. It was delusional. It was psychotic. All right. Second thing, I was on my 130 run. We're on month three. One, maybe three of my top producers, I won't name names, took the month off. And I realized at a certain point in the month, it was going to require something crazy to happen. And so I went out in the field and I wrote 38K in 14 days. I served 23 families at a $1,600 average case size. I spent $900 on leads each week. I probably could have tripled that, but I did work referrals. I worked no shows. I worked no sales. I sold multiple policies per appointment. I did everything I possibly could, and I'd never done something like that before. So here, two examples for you guys, things I've never done before that required me to be slightly psychotic and delusional and change everything in me and around me to make those two goals happen. Those were situations that required everything. And as I look back, every single time I've majorly leveled up in my life, it's because I made a decision to go all the way freaking in, to burn everything else around me. Wilbur said he would buy me Chipotle today if I dropped an F word. So there's my F word for you, Wilbur. It was just the PG version. I decided to go all the way in and only focus on that one thing and fight through the adversity that came my way and push through and keep pushing through and keep pushing through. And I fought through the pain and I suffered loss along the way. And I suffered just different setbacks along the way. And then I hit breakthrough and I experienced more pain. And then I kept pushing and I kept pushing again and again and again. These were the moments that define my journey here. Like I look back and these were the moments that created the most amount of growth for me. And I woke up eventually, like whether it was a couple days after, a couple weeks after, I remember having this feeling when I woke up that I'm the person that just did that. I became the person that just did that. It's extremely rewarding. I'm the person that hit that goal. I'm the person that ran the 100 miles. I'm the person that builds a 130 business in 3 years. I'm the person that goes all the way in on my marriage. I'm the person that goes all the way in on freedom and changes my family tree. Like, I may not be like that word from my friend. It really impacted me because I may not be going all the way in on something right now, but I know I'm someone who can, right? And it challenged me to think this week, what is that one thing that I'm going after right now? Because if it's everything, it's nothing. If it's focused on one thing, it's everything. Okay. And I'm going to talk to you about some principles from the book that really, really make sense when it comes to going all in on the one thing and 10xing instead of 2xing. Because when we set small goals, they require a small amount of effort. And then they just become like, it just becomes a nuisance, right? It's not a major change. It's not a major difference. I want to go from setting 8 appointments to setting 9 appointments next week. Okay. Wasn't that big of a deal because I didn't have to change everything inside of me and everything around me to get there. So I don't want to stay in those seasons forever, Jim, because I don't know if I'd be married if I stayed in 100-mile training season forever. Kate probably remembers Ironman training. Like it was 18 hours a week of training. Christina's with me right now. She's like, once this marathon's done, I am sitting on the couch for 5 days, like literally. So you can't be in these seasons forever, but I will go into them in different times because it levels you up and then you just become that person who is who you wanted to be. Instead of saying like, oh, someday I'll become a top producer, you do what a top producer does now. So I will ask you the same thing Danny has asked me since day one here in this business. What do you want? And what are you willing to sacrifice to get it? Okay. Couple key principles from this book. Number one, 10x isn't about working harder. It's about working focused on the right things. Okay. So going 10x means like you're not working harder on all the things. You're getting really, really focused on the one thing that truly matters and cutting off everything else. Because we hear about the 80-20 rule. Like you have to be well-rounded. You have to focus on these areas of the business. Yes, that's true. But in a season to get you to the next level, if you've been stuck at 100% contract for a year and a half, you need to be 95.5. 95 focused on getting to the next level, 5% focused on everything else. Go ahead and have that conversation with your family. Tell them you're getting focused for 2 months and go and do it. Because if you're 80% of the way in, it's basically like being 20% there. If you go 100% of the way in, Jim, I believe that gives you 130% goal results from that goal. It's weird how that works. It's like the frog in the bowl. So when it came to the 100 miler, I had to burn everything else. I had to literally research and get obsessed. And like I bought all these $200 pair of shoes and I bought like these fanny packs that had water bottles attached to them. And I started eating these weird gels that gave me energy while I was running. Like you guys know the story. It was everything. Okay. So for the folks that want to get to the next level, you're gonna need to go 95% in and 5% elsewhere if you want to get to that next level. Okay? You need to focus on the one thing and then we get through it and then you've done that thing. Do not do not get complacent where you're at by taking incremental steps. It has to be huge. Okay. Number two, 10x goals force identity transformation. You can't just do more, you have to become a different person to achieve that goal. Okay. It's a total reinvention sometimes. All right. You become a new version of yourself. And so when we talk about that, like in this business, I see perfect examples of leaders who have done exactly that, like Michael Matthews. Okay. One of my best friends came from poverty, grew up in the hood, was surrounded by drugs and just bad activity. You guys fill the blank. He experienced it. Okay. He decided to change, to have an identity transformation. He removed himself physically, moved to a different state, and he's focused on changing his family tree forever. Okay. It's pretty remarkable. All right. He went all in on that. All right. So for 10x goal, like you have to force an identity transformation. That's number two. Number three, saying no is a success skill. Every yes to something average that doesn't help out your goal is saying no to something extraordinary. And when I talk about this, I want you to think about delayed gratification. You have to know exactly why you're paying the price to pay that big price. So yes, getting really focused on your vision and what you want here is important. That's why I think that question from Danny, Jim, was so key. What do you want? What are you willing to sacrifice? Okay? Because to pay the big price, you have to know why you're paying it. For that 100 miler, I just wanted the belt buckle, to be honest with you. It was at mile 70 where my legs broke down. I had softball sized contractions on my legs. I was dry heaving. I couldn't pee, which was the weirdest feeling ever. All of my toenails were floating in my shoes, and I had a blister the size of my entire foot on both feet. I was using these canes, they're like running sticks, to just take a step. And it was when my wife kind of she shook me in that moment, and my cousins were there, and they just helped me realize why I was here. Because I was telling them, I just ran 70 miles. I'm good. I've done more than I've ever done before. And they reminded me, Kate said, you didn't come here to run 70 miles. You came here to get a belt buckle. So I finished that race. Actually, it gave me so much motivation. I ditched the running sticks and I finished the 100 mile on a jog. It was amazing. Okay. I remembered exactly why I was there. That vision helped me delay the gratification of stopping and push through. I knew exactly why I was paying that price. Okay, I don't know what number I'm on. I think this is four. Collaboration is key to exponential growth. You don't go to 10x alone. You do it by building the who, not how partnerships. Okay, your alignments in life determine your assignments in life, which means the people that you surround yourself with will determine how far you go and how fast you grow. That is important. If I didn't have people like Sarah Reineke in my life, if I didn't have people like Jim, like Christina, like Michael Matthews, like the Roethlisbergers, I can name 100 names. I love you if you're in in my circle and pouring into me. I would not be able to push through the things that I'm going through or even think about what that vision should look like if I didn't have examples of it all around me. They're a picture of possibility. I can pull each thing from one of these names that I just named, plus more, and I can say, I want to do that. I want to have that. That's what it looks like to do it to an elite level. All right. So you need those people around you. You cannot go alone. Collaboration is key to exponential growth. Number five, your future dictates your present actions. Decide who your 10x self is, whatever this is, and then act like you're already there. Okay. Christina Watts reminded me of this yesterday. It was such an amazing story, very comparable to our business. And she talked about like signing up for this marathon and so, Christina, if you're going to talk about this week, I'm sorry I'm stealing this from you, but in May, she could run a mile and a half, 2.5 miles, and 3 miles. That was her programming for the week. She couldn't even run it. She walked most of that. Okay. Fast forward, I'll give you guys the answers to her story. Fast forward to October. Her programming this week is 5 miles, 8 miles, 6 miles, and 20 miles. She did that all running. Now, I believe if Christina would have signed up for a 5K, she probably would have given up on that already. And that's nothing against Christina, but it wasn't big enough for her to go all in on. It wasn't big enough for her to change everything around herself and everything within herself. So when those training days came up where it was creeping from 2.5 miles to 4.5 to 6, and then she had her first 10-mile day, which Wilbur and I did with her in solidarity because it was epic and we just wanted to pour back into her by doing it with her. Okay. Those milestones wouldn't have happened if the goal wasn't extremely large. It was almost like she would wake up each day, and she's still doing this, where she's like, I've got the marathon on the calendar. I can't not be this person today. I can't not do the things it requires of me today. The goal is that big. Okay. So your future dictates your present actions. And then last thing, number six, time expands when you operate from purpose. And I talk about this a lot in production because the major question I get from growing leaders is how do I manage production and building at the same time? All right. Well, you may be looking at your production week as a 7-day work week. What happens if you looked at your production week as a 3-day work week? What happens if you look at your production month as a 15-day production month? What happens? You crunch time. You get more done in a short period of time. You're more efficient. You're more focused. You've got a fire burning. Okay. So, and that's how you work your week as a producer and a builder. You got to get your production done in the first 3 or 4 days so you can spend the next couple building. It's collapsing time. If you focused on just getting to your three policies and staying average for that week and like, oh, I just need to get three on the board and I'm good. And it takes you 7 days to do that. That's the frog in the pot of water. Go time crunch it. Do it in 3. Okay. You have to start playing bigger. I have to start playing bigger. This is a word for me that I'm passing on to you guys. Stop playing small. And I know some of you are going to write stop playing small on a sticky note today. Some of you are going to burn everything that's comfortable and change your life. Which one is it going to be for you? That's all I got, Jim.
That's all I got. Man, I love this message so much. I talked and I know you read through my new book pretty quick, and there were a couple things that I brought out, Scott, that just highlight so much of this. The like cost of entry.
Oh,
Like
dude.
there's a cost of entry to this business, and if your goal isn't big enough to demand at least enough effort for the cost of entry, you're gonna quit. You got to raise the stakes of the game. That's a whole other chapter. Is if you are playing small and it requires a small amount of effort to hit the goal, you're not gonna be compelled to do it. You've got to raise the stakes. You've got to see what you're made of. And man, I personally, I'm in a season where I can't get enough of this message. So it hit me strong and hard, and I appreciate you bringing that to us this morning.
Yes, sir. Love you guys. Hope that word landed. Breakout rooms are open.
Here we go.
Thank God, because I don't know how to do it.